The docking ring is now open, so get your lobes ready. We're ready. I'm Brian, and I'm here with my erstwhile co-host,
Alex, and I enjoy being erstwhile. No assembly required.
So, how was your week, my friend?
My week was good. It's getting busier. The weather's finally improving in my neck of the woods, and there's a lot more going on with work, and I'm training for a half marathon and doing some other stuff, so things are really picking up. But it's been good. How about yourself?
Good as well. My family is on spring break this week, so did a little staycation and visited. I'm in the greater Chicagoland area, so went to downtown Chicago and visited the planetarium. It was a very nice little weekend, so it's always great to do those type of things, and if I can throw some science and astronomy and cosmology in the mix and some stargazing, all the better.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some cosmetology I could throw in there. You're yes. A little shiny.
Yes, I typically am.
Was that at Adler? Is that the one? Is that the planetarium?
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
I love that one.
And I got an annual membership and just like to go visit. There's so much light pollution in my part of the universe that it's really hard to see stars. So just going to the sky show, it's just a nice respite for me. I like to go do that.
I mean, that's one of the trade-offs that you make with living in the Chicagoland area. But the other thing is, of course, you have all this access to cultural and educational, yes. And I mean, the Field Museum. My goodness, that one.
And oh, sure, and then the Art Institute,
yeah.
And arguably the best pizza in the world.
We're gonna have to do an episode on that. I mean, I
know there are some New Yorkers that may tend to disagree, but I sure enjoy it.
I think we should do, as one of our supplemental episodes, we should battle it out, because I'll take the New York side, you take the Chicago side. I've had both. Now I've not lived in either town.
Take the California kind of brick oven side as well.
Oh, I think we could both kick the crap out of those people.
If you're putting arugula, on a pizza, there's something wrong with you.
Well, I think he's in this episode we're going to talk about in a minute.
He is indeed. Before we get in that, though,
mm-hmm.
I did want to mention the Tranya.
Oh, which you're drinking out of a very stylish Federation or Starfleet mug or tankard or whatever.
Starfleet tankard, yeah. And this is, I think it's from Faltzcraft. It's a nice tankard. I believe it was a gift from a very close friend of mine a number of years ago, and so I have filled it today with some Irish cream on the rocks. Partly because I like the taste, partly because after you open it, you have about 6 months, and then you're supposed to dispose of it. And I'm at I'm at almost the 4-month mark, so I'm trying to kind of knock it off before I have to throw it away.
That's a good point. I've got a bottle. We both bought one around the same time, I think, of the same stuff, didn't we? And my wife and I have not done a good job. I don't love that stuff, but I enjoy it, but I need to force myself to have it more often because, as you say, it does go a little bad quickly.
Yeah. It's great with coffee as well. But
that's a great Tranya you're having there. My Tranya is tonight, and it's just a little bit of Knob Creek. I decided I'd just sip a little bit here tonight. Mm-hmm. We're recording, folks. We typically record on Wednesday nights, and about once a month, I'm a regular on local television. I'm not trying to be like, oh, big deal, oh, he's on TV. But the nights before that, like, because tomorrow morning at my appearance, I try not to drink more than a little tiny bit, because it does, my old face, it does show the effects pretty badly, I think. So I look bad enough, so I want to make sure that I don't drink too much. So just a couple of sips at Knob Creek is going to do it for me for the Tranya.
And then you had housekeeping note or two before we jump into the Cardies.
That's right. And there'll be links in the show notes for Facebook and Twitter. Please just follow us there. And there may be a message from us after the credits about that. We announced the last episode when we did invasive procedures. If you want to ship us your cast-offs, your Trek cast-offs, that is, any Star Trek memorabilia you don't want, we could repurpose it and use it as prizes for people who join our Facebook page, which we're at number
48.
48. Man, we get to 100. we're going to give away some prizes. So we have some stuff in our own prize closet, but if you want to contribute some old Trek stuff that you don't need, or you have duplicate stuff to your prize closet, or to our prize closet from yours, you can send it to us the old-fashioned way. We've got a post office box here, care of our PR firm. So just send it to Audio Hoo-Mons, care of AGPR, P.O. Box 902119, Kansas City, Missouri 64190. And if that went too fast for you, or you didn't have a pen handy, or you're driving, or something else, that address is in the About section of the Audio Hoo-Mons podcast Facebook page. And I'll try to remember to put it in the show notes. I don't think I did last week, but I'll try to put it in the show notes. But you can find it, or just get a hold of us through the Facebook page. If you can't find it, we'll let you know. But we'll take whatever you got, an old action figure that's been chewed on by your pet Sailot, whatever it may be. We'll take it because we're going to recycle them, and we're going to give them out as prizes. Isn't that right, Brian?
Absolutely. And I was texting you a few of my recent finds. Some publicity shots, some stickers. We got stickers.
Somebody might get some stickers
and some postcards and so a lot of fun stuff. And again, it's just some little small tokens of our appreciation. We love that those of you that follow us, and we want to show the love.
Definitely. So. By the time you hear this, it'll be over, but we periodically on the Facebook page, it pays to visit there every couple of days if you could. We did a poll, and I mentioned here on the poll, occasionally we will do supplemental episodes that aren't about a specific DS9 episode. We have many ideas, but we thought we'd ask about a couple. We've been knocking around for a while off air, and so I asked which topic interests you the most. And I said, if neither, you can give us a comment down in the comments section. We only had a couple of votes so far, and it's been up for a few days. So I may do this one again. But I said the topics I had was, you want Brian and Alex to talk about Deep Space Nine versus the other Trek series? That one's one where I'm pretty sure Brian and I might go a little bit of, not hammer and tong, but he's a TNG guy, folks. I know he'll, yeah. So we could talk about that, and we would probably do it right away, but we want to get some things in the pipeline. And then the other topic was did Deep Space Nine plagiarize Babylon 5?
That's an interesting argument, and that was, you sent me some info, and that would definitely be worth a deeper study or discussion. It does seem there are some similarities, and I'm not very familiar with the Babylon 5 series either. So,
well, you might be surprised to learn that I know a little bit about it.
Shocking.
Do you have a life? It's something that you and I could prepare for a little bit, and maybe you could do the research for yes to that question, and I could do it for no or back or whatever. That's a fascinating one. So I'll tell you what, if we haven't reposted that particular poll, we'll try to remember to do so. Or you could just post a comment loosely wherever, on Twitter or on the Facebook page, saying, yeah, that B5 thing sounds interesting. Or I'd love to hear how you guys think DS9 stacks up against other Treks. But part of that's kind of unfair to you, Brian, because you're only into the second season, basically, of the show. So maybe it's not fair to ask. But it still might be fun to talk about it. Or maybe if we did it this year or this season, we could talk about how the Deep Space Nine Season 2 stacks up against other Season 2s. Now, that could be a way to do it. All right. Well...
Or just pick characters.
Oh, that'd be nice too.
Maybe do a compare and contrast, or a weight of the character versus a comparable character on another series.
I like that. That's actually a very good idea, and that would require limited research too. The other ones would require a little bit of research. So
right.
Okay, well that's all. The housekeeping. You folks, please send us your Trek cast-offs. Keep it clean if you could. And I'll turn it over. I'll turn it over to Brian now to talk about keeping up with the Cardassians.
Yes. So it's an interesting episode. Really a discussion in a lot of ways of the cost of war. That seems to be a general theme through a lot of Deep Space Nine, because it's really a war-torn planet that is trying to recover from an occupation, and so this covers one of those issues, which is the Orphans of War. Starts out with some people coming to Deep Space Nine, a Bajoran, and then a young man named Arugula.
Yeah.
Rugal, wearing a Bajoran earring. They're at the Replamat. Hey, I got that one right.
Yeah.
So, and we're reintroduced this season to our good friend Garak, the tailor.
Yes.
He's just a simple tailor.
The plain, simple Garak from past prologue returns. We get the jazz hands, and we get the ambiguous sexuality and
the Freddy Krueger sweater.
Oh, did you think that as well? It was like a green Freddy Krueger sweater.
Yeah, it was. It was. It begins with Dr. Bashir and Garak at the Replamat.
Right.
This kind of wordplay between them, Bashir trying to determine if Garak is some sort of Cardassian spy, or and Garak just playing the cool tailor, and they go back and forth. When this young man, a young Cardassian boy wearing a Bajoran earring, accompanied by an older Bajoran gentleman, enters the Replamat, and Garak walks over and says, "What a nice young boy," and promptly gets his hand bitten pretty severely.
Oh, yeah.
And I will detour for just a moment here, because every other thing that child did throughout the entire episode did not support that type of violent behavior, and I found it a little awkward. I get that they needed something in order to to make the story move forward, but it seemed awkward to me, a little out of place.
I agree. It seemed very jarring, I guess, but as you said, dramatically they needed to kind of fire this off and get it going.
Correct.
Yeah. I'll say this for Andy Robinson playing Garak. He sold that being bitten. The way, it wasn't overacting at all. It was just really well done. It's like,
right.
And it gets your attention, that's for sure. Yeah, and so we find out that the boy has been adopted by these lovely Bajoran people when the boy got left behind when the Cardassians left.
Right. Correct.
Tosk. I am Tosk.
Yes. So a couple things start happening very quickly, which is immediately Gul Dukat calls the station.
He FaceTimes everybody. Yeah.
And so another big question is left unanswered. Who told him?
Yeah.
Because based on what I know, I wouldn't think Garak would. He seems to support the political operative more than the Gauls. Maybe it was that traveler that had seen those guys. But I just don't know.
I know who. I think it's pretty obvious if you think about it for a second. It was Quark. Quark sells information.
True.
He knows Dukat. True. He knows him well.
Yeah.
And at this point, Dukat is an asshole, but he's not like evil. He's, you know what I mean?
Right.
And Quark's
kind of on the outs right now.
Right. So he might have been like currying favor and maybe making some latinum by telling. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Quark. Or Rom even, but I'm going to say Quark.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. And I think Quark would stand to gain at least a modicum of safety if the Cardassians came back, because he was kind of free to operate then, and now he's kind of on the outs with the Starfleet bunch.
Yeah, they're so bubbly and cloying.
So really what's happening now is, at that point, is it's revealed that there's a group of Cardassian orphans that were left on Bajor. Most are in orphanages, or I think they call them resettlement camps, which is an interesting reference to World War II.
Yeah.
And Gul Dukat's position is that these children belong on Cardassia, at least at this point in the story. And of course, the father of this, or the adoptive father of this Cardassian boy, believes otherwise. Believes that the Cardassians are, pretty heartless, and there was some real, some real animosity there, obviously,
Right. Yeah.
and that he wanted to raise this child to not have that same type of hatred. So
Right.
he wanted to keep him and continue to raise him as his own. From there, some more information starts becoming revealed between Dr. Bashir and Garak. He's starting to reveal bits and pieces of information, pieces of the puzzle that had not previously been revealed about who the child is, who the parents are. They run some DNA tests. They run down to Bajor to start asking questions, and come to find out this child is actually the child of a political figure in Cardassia. So he was the political leader of the colony on Bajor, or that area, and so things start to be revealed about what happened. So they interview Padar and find out that he thought his son had been killed. I mean, he was terribly distraught to the point where, and this is an area I wanted to spend maybe a little bit more time on, so distraught that he's the one who started the end of the occupation. He was so reminded daily of the loss of his child, or the apparent loss of his child, that he just couldn't be there any longer. And so he's really pushed for or initiated the withdrawal from Bajor of the Cardassians against the wishes of Gul Dukat, obviously, because he was kind of ruling the roost there at Terok Nor, and they pulled out. And so to me, that really struck me, one, as a father, two, current events. I was seeing some of the parents of the
refugees.
No, I was thinking of the shooting.
Oh, the Parklands. Yeah.
So there was the Parkland shooting, and the other.
You can be forgiven if you can't remember all the shootings we've had the past few years.
It is terrible. So just recently, in the past week, a father of one of the survivors committed suicide, and some of that, I believe, had to do with the fact that not just having to live with the loss of a child, but because he was an activist,
right,
parent, that he was constantly reminded of that loss.
Yeah.
There was no way to let go.
Yeah.
And so this just made me think, as a father, would I want to continue to be an activist against the cause of my child's death, or would I want to just be away from it as much as possible?
You've got to wonder. Let's hope we never know.
Amen.
But I want to commend you on that. That's a great connection to make to what's going on now in our world. Yeah, I think Padar, he had this wound, just like these unfortunate parents of these children who were killed. He had this wound. It's like Sir Lancelot, with Arthur. It's the old wound. It never healed, right? And of course, Lancelot's wound was different. But I just make the point that you carry this wound, whether it's a visible scar or it's in your heart or your mind. And so I think that's a spectacular connection you just made there with this. So I appreciate that. I really do. I think that's really a good one. And what we find out, basically, right, if I may, is that these kids apparently, because Garak makes the point of how strange that was, that a race of like the Cardassians that are so, and you'll learn more and more and more about this as we go on, but you remember from Duet, remember that wonderful episode, that this is a race of record keepers, and they keep track of everything. And so how could they leave all these kids behind and not know, and there's no reason? You have to wonder if these kids are not left behind as pawns to be used later.
Yeah, as a purpose with a purpose. Absolutely. Yeah. That's some of the breadcrumbs and hints that Garak leaves.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we end up with that reveal, and it's decided that Rugal will go with his birth father and back to Cardassia,
Right.
for better or for worse.
Right. And now, this child is a further victim now because he has spent his entire youth hearing nothing but bad things about the race of people that he comes from, and now he's being forced to go back and live among them. Yeah, so it's think about those orphans that are left behind, those that are reunited in a Vietnam era, any time that there's a war, and it does seem that whether they're being used or forgotten, they're always the victim.
Yeah.
And even if they're being reunited, they're often the victim as well. And it's,
just at our own border with these refugees who the kids were taken away, a lot of them from their parents, and these are very young children and at a formative time in their lives, and they don't see their parents, and some of these kids will never see their parents again, and the anguish, the horror that brings. And if you're listening to this and rolling your eyes or something, well, all I can say is please check your humanity, because if you're a parent, just imagine that's your child taken away from you. I'm not trying to get political here at all. I'm just being
regardless of the circumstances.
I'm being a dad here, and I'm just saying that if I am at the door of another country to try to get a better life, and my kid's taken away from me, and it's not like I broke a law or something, and yet here we are again, right? It's what you're talking about here. So, bear with me if you happen to think that's a good policy. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm just trying to say, and by the way, I'd be unfair and untrue to my own beliefs if I were to tell you I thought it was a good policy. I think it sucks, and I think Brian does too. But the point is, what we're looking at here with Rugal, he has been made a pawn. He has been made, and for these people who have these other purposes that we do not even know what they are. So if it's Dukat or other enemies of this Padar guy, doesn't matter. These kids are being used, and their lives are wrecked because of it, one way or another, even if they're lucky enough to be repatriated to their families. Isn't that what you're getting at?
Exactly. It's
like
those scars are permanent.
Yeah. So, a few things here we didn't really touch on in kind of the gloss over there. We get to see a few things that I found interesting, which was the dynamic between Chief O'Brien, he and Keiko.
Oh, that's right, because they foster Rugal while he's waiting for a determination on where he would go.
Well, and we all know that from TNG that O'Brien has issues with the Cardassians. He was a foot soldier. He fought Cardassians, the Cardis. He's fought them. He doesn't like them. And there's that scene at the dinner table where they both, I don't remember exactly, but they push away their plates at the same time. And
because she made a Cardassian dish. That's what it was.
And neither one of them wanted it.
Neither one of them wanted it. That's right.
Yeah. So I liked seeing that. And you know how you and I have talked previously about consistency and about continuity of characters. I love the way the writers of DS9 seized on Miles O'Brien, who we knew from the Rutledge and back in the TNG era and his previous commanders that he had fought the Cardassians and he didn't like the Cardassians and he had seen war up close, and that's why he got into engineering. He wanted, kind of like we were talking about just now, he wanted to not deal with that. He wanted to try something else in his life because he couldn't live with what happened when he was a soldier. Right. And so he sees this, and he's got this Cardassian in his midst, in his very living room, in his dining room, around his children, or his child, and he don't like it. And when Keiko shuts that crap down, she's like, this is a child, and you're going to just deal with it, So I loved that. Yeah. But, of course, the thing I really loved was seeing Andy Robinson's Garak. And bear in mind, this is only the second time we see him, right?
Second or third.
Past Prologue was the last one. And what was the previous one? Okay, maybe the third.
I don't.
Okay, I think you're right. But every time there's a new layer to this guy.
Sure, yeah.
And you can just
and
watch
it's almost as if the first season he was designed to be a semi-disposable character, but he did it so well that they really had to write him in deeper.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can see why the writers fell in love with him. I fell in love with him. He's one of my favorite characters. And again, we may have mentioned this in our first season. Andy Robinson was one of 3 actors that were finalists to play Odo. It was Garrett Graham, who also made a an appearance first season, just a one-off, and Andy, and of course Renee Auberjonois, who, by the way, I was tweeting this the other day, and this has been a few weeks by the time you're listening to this, folks. I was catching on MeTV an old episode of Wonder Woman with Linda Carter.
Yes.
And who is the bad guy but a wavy-haired, bearded Renee? He plays kind of like a cat burglar type guy who's kind of a cat and mouse guy. Yeah, kind of with Wonder Woman. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. And the man looked great, by the way. He was skinny guy, but he was actually, but he had, I tweeted something like there's the sexy, and I said it at Renee, the actor. He didn't respond or like her, but I thought he looked rather good. So it was just fun to see him then. That was right about the time he probably went to star in Benson. And if, by the way, right now you're not hearing the drop-in of the Benson theme, it's because I was too lazy to go find it. Remember, we did that all first season. But Andy, I could see Andy being Odo. I really could. But I'm glad he wasn't, because Garak is so just delicious and rich a character.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's fun. And, you can make fun of that kind of play between
him and Bashir,
and how naive Bashir is, but it is kind of fun. It's just one of those. Maybe it's a guilty pleasure, but it's just fun. The cat and mouse, how well and how effectively and efficiently Garak will play and maneuver Bashir and the whole staff of Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah,
in order to make stuff happen, and it seems as if he has a generally positive motive.
Seems, but we don't know. 100%.
We don't know.
Correct. And you ain't seen nothing yet with Garak. You're going to see a lot more Garak, and it's going to get even better.
To that.
Oh my gosh, yes. So we have those things. So just top line, besides those things, I'll just say this about the episode, and if you got some notes, and then maybe we could get our Latinum and get out the door here. But I think it's more building on who the Cardassians are. I like there's more intrigue with Dukat kind of reappearing a little bit. He was missed. We didn't see enough of Dukat either lately. And he's less of a mustache-twirling villain and he's becoming more textured. You're going to see a lot more of that. I thought this episode was best, though, as I said previously. O'Brien getting a showcase. I think in Garak and Dukat to a lesser extent. I didn't find, nothing against the actor, but I didn't find the Rugal character all that interesting. He was a vessel that carried everything else. I think Robert Mandan, who played Padar, who you might know from Soap, you'd recognize him. He was Chester Tate on Soap. He's passed away, I think, recently, but he did a nice job there, kind of an understated, not over-the-top character with that. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was good, and I thought that it was something definitely, especially with the wonderful insights you brought to it today. I thought it was a good, solid episode. What about you? What notes do you have?
I agree, and I would echo it. Season 1 was so focused on that primary central core of characters that now into season 2, some of the interesting side characters can start becoming introduced. Yeah. So you know enough about those first characters, you can get deeper with them, but now getting some of those secondary characters that really add depth and color and flavor to the series are being reintroduced, and I love that. It doesn't have to be all about Cisco. It doesn't have to be all about because this episode was really about Garak. It was about Cardassians. It wasn't about it was about the universe around Deep Space Nine more than it was about Deep Space Nine in particular.
And it wasn't Kira-centric or Cisco-centric, as you said.
Right. Yeah. So that adds just another layer, another level that just draws you back because it makes it more. It just makes the story more true. to me. So that other than that, I think we've covered all my notes and ready to go on to Latinum.
All right, then take it away. What do I always go first, or do you go first? Do you want me to go first?
I think we've been switching. It doesn't matter. I think you went first last week.
Okay.
I'm fine with going first. It's again in that 3-bar and a couple strips range where I think it did reveal some nice stuff. It was great having a couple of familiar characters back. It covered a topic that most series in this genre would not cover. So yeah, I would call it 3 bars, 2 strips. How about you?
I'm gonna have to just copycat you and say 3 bars, 2 strips. And I give the 2 strips because Ducat came back. I give a full bar for this for Garak and a full bar for O'Brien, and another bar just on the general episode itself. I'm with you. It's a good, solid episode. It's kind of a laid back, quiet episode. But you weave it into the overall tapestry of the series, and it's important. It makes the fabric stronger. If I can torture that memo a little bit more, but so I'm with you on that. So that's that, and so I know that I want to remind everybody real quick. We have an email. It's audioumox@gmail.com. If you want to send us a personal thing, you don't want to do it through social media, or you want to ask questions or get that email address, or excuse me, that PO box address, just audioumox@gmail.com. And don't forget, we've got the PO box there, so you can send us your Trek cast-offs. Anything else before we go?
No, just a reminder. Give us the reviews.
Yep.
You follow us on social and tell your friends. We would love. We mentioned it last week. We'd love to give away some stuff if we can get our follower count up just a bit. And I look forward to next week. I don't know what next week's episode is.
Next week is we're gonna be flying high with Bashir and Melora.
Very good. Very good.
And until next week,
the docking ring is closed.